Hey guys, Trevor John coming to another Diablo 4 video. All right, so we are going to go ahead and we're going to talk about today the important stuff, right? At what point in Diablo 4 do you actually need to stop, look at your gear, and instead of looking at item power and even caring what item power says, looking at the substats and determining, okay, yes, this is truly an upgrade. All right, so first things first, we have finally hit level 80. I don't know if you guys saw yesterday's video, but we talked about it. I'm super happy about it. I have one max glyph. I have another glyph that I'll probably get close to maxing out by tomorrow, I'm assuming, tomorrow night when I run. But no, today's video, what we're gonna talk about is gonna be gear. And the reason why we're gonna talk about gear is because I see a lot of common mistakes and problems out there that are like, well, you know what? Obviously it's not, you aren't aware at what point you need to be going for substats, at what point, well, what you need to be focusing on. And this video, I'm hoping is going to help a lot of you go, okay, yes, I need to focus on these substats at this point. I need to just do straight up item power upgrades to this point. So on and so forth, right? And with that being said, let's go ahead and cover a little bit more of that information and really dive into it for you guys. So first things first, I'm gonna show off my gear currently. It's not great, okay? It's not great. It's not necessarily ideal. Look at these boots. 792 plus 25 item power. Typically people would say, oh, that's great. It's not. It's actually really bad. So the only thing worthwhile on this piece of gear, honestly, is the +4 rank of corpse tendrils and 8.3% essence cost reduction. That's huge, but it's mid-tier. +4 corpse, not hard to get. It's not super rare. It's max, but whatever. Willpower, not necessarily that pertinent to my build. Poison resistance, effing useless. I have 52% or 54% poison resistance anyways on my character. I see 0 poison mitigation. Complete waste of stats if you ever put any type of resistance on your build, at least until they change it, which that probably won't be until season 3. Realistically, season 4. But yeah, anyways, this is bad. So what would make this good? If I had some sort of modifier that had like a speed modifier, like these aren't great either. But if I had a piece of gear that said, like, you know, it had, I wish I should have kept it because I'm talking about boots here, but there is a movement speed one, right? So if I had one that had 3 stats that are worthwhile, like essence cost reduction, corpse tendrils, movement speed, I wouldn't care what the other one was. I would take it and run with it, and that'd be a perfect piece of gear for my build. And it could be a lower item power for all I care, as long as it's above 750. You're in that last tier of item, I believe. And so at that point, you can just go ahead and say, yep, you know what? I'm above this point. All these are going to be max rolls anyways, call it good, right? When I say max rolls, I mean when you're upgrading to level 5, it's not like you're going to be missing out, so to speak. Like, it's the max tier of range. So that's what I'm actually saying. There's breakpoints, I think is what people are calling it. But anyways, one thing to point out is, let's look at, like, for example, this one right here. Okay, so we have a weapon. This is a 2-handed weapon. Notice the item power is 792. This is a shield, 791. I could technically take this, take another weapon, and I would have a much higher item power and probably a little bit more overall just damage. Is that worthwhile? Absolutely not. It's not worthwhile. The reason why is because the stats on this particular weapon are pretty decent. 69 to all stats. Nice. Very good. 153 int. It's not necessarily the worst, but it's not the best either. 36% critical strike damage. That is pretty decent, even if it is on a lower scale. And 81% damage to injured enemies is huge, because a lot of times you will have injured enemies anyways. It's going to be very hard to replace this, but you know what I'm going to be looking for? I'm not going to care about the item power. I don't care at all. What I care about is the substats. What I care about is, okay, what makes my build modify differently? Like, for example, if I say this ring here, right, which is 684, that's a pretty bad ring. I don't know why I salvaged the last one that I had an 800 power ring, absolutely useless. But notice that, like, for example, 2 of these stats are trash. Critical or plus 43 life for Jin while not damaged recently, and 7% damage over time. Pretty much useless on this build. Lucky hit chance, good. Critical strike damage with bone skills, good. Crit rate would be better. Different modifiers there, right? It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter what the item power is. Look at the substats. Once you get past level, I would say 60, 65, even up to 70 at the latest, stop looking at item power. You don't care. Substats are what matters. Pay attention to your substats. Make sure they match what your build requires, whether it's crit build, whether it's a dot build, whether it's a fury build, whether it's an essence build or a basic skill build, right? Like, those all things exist in Diablo 4. Pay attention. What stats do you need? As soon as you hit level 60, maybe 65 at the latest, you need to start transitioning from saying, yes, item power, better, good. Absolutely not. The only time that is still applicable after level 65 is on your weapon, and that is only because if your damage per second can go up, that will most of the time trump a lot of your other substats on this piece of gear, as long as they're decent. Now, if they're absolutely garbage, let's say 2 out of 4 are garbage, get rid of it. Do not ever replace what you consider decent gear with an upgrade that only has 2 out of 4 stats that you want on your build. If it has a minimum of 3 stats that you need for your build, you keep that piece of gear and you go roll it on the cultist to see if it's worth imprinting. You do this before you upgrade it, so that way you don't waste resources. Best possible advice I can give you if you are struggling right now with, hey, what should I be doing with my gear? How should I be paying attention to it? What should I be doing? You need to be looking at all these stats and saying, yes, this is what I need. For example, my gloves, plus 4 ranks of bone spare. That has to be a minimum on all of my gloves at this point, now that I know it's there. This would be a pretty good piece of gear if not for that lucky hit, to be quite honest. But yes, those types of things you need to start paying attention to. Rolling your gear is very helpful, but I don't recommend doing it until you get to this level. At this level, then you want to start rolling your gear. You're going to live with the occultist after you salvage everything after every dungeon and call it a day. But anyways, long story short, pay attention. It's okay to not equip the best item power item, okay? Sometimes stats matter more. Notice this 766 here. I've had many above this, but it has resource gen, critical strike with bone damage, critical strike chance, and damage to distant enemies, all of which apply to my build, making this a much better build item than what something else could offer that is plus 800 item power, especially when it only affects the amount of armor and resistance you get, and resistance in Diablo 4 is absolutely garbage and pointless. So there you have it. Hopefully this helps you guys with you deciding, okay, at what point do I need to upgrade my gear? And if it does, like and subscribe, leave a comment down below. Can't wait to see you guys in the next one. Peace.